What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Mindset Show. I am here with my colleagues, Brian Miles and Justin Sua, and we have a great show planned for you guys today. And like we've been doing, we are going to start every episode off with a tabletop question. And so this is a good one. I actually was super excited with this question. And just so you know, whoever's presenting is the only person that knows this question. So they have not heard these questions. So it's just off the cuff, whatever you got. So the question is, if you could appear on any game show, which would you choose? Oh, wow. This is an easy one.
Oh my God. I feel like Justin and I are going to say the same show.
What do you, I'll wait.
Oh, no. I mean, I was going to obviously go Price is Right.
Okay.
Well, and so like, I mean, come on. Every kid who stayed home sick and they would just watch The Price is Right over and over again. I mean, I just feel like that's so awesome. And I, did I guess right a bunch of times on the price of like random items in your household? Yeah, I think I did a lot of times. So I'm a Price is Right guy. I mean, that's my dig. So now I realize that probably wasn't the show you were thinking of, Justin. What do you got?
It wasn't. So Family Feud. I want to go with my family and just, I don't know. I just like to compete. I want my family in it. And that would just be a blast. I just, for some, I think I'm really good, but under the pressure, I don't know if I'd be good. We're always like playing together. We're muting it and giving our answers. We get a little bit too into Family Feud. I love that.
Hey, nothing wrong with a little family competition.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, I wrote down both of those, thinking that at least one of them you guys wouldn't say. I was going to, Price is Right would have been my number one. Brian, same. I have an affinity for that show. I love that show. I actually had a friend go on that show from college and win like a showcase in like a car.
Wow.
So I want to go up there and I want to spin the wheel really bad.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a technique, and I have a couple theories, and I'd like to try them out. So if anybody here is listening from The Price is Right, Brian and I are your peeps. Anyone from Family Feud, we got a family that's ready to compete.
That's right.
Yes, we do. Get the Sua family on there. Let's go.
Right? Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. All right, so we're going to dive right into this week's episode because we've got so many good questions planned. Like we teased last week, there's 3 questions, but I'm going to start with this first one. This one, I'm super interested to hear what you guys have to say because I just think it's a different question to ask. So I think this first one is so good. How do I find my ordinary superpowers? And I'm going to throw this one over to Brian to start. How do I find my ordinary superpowers?
As always, phenomenal questions. I look at like the ordinary superpower, sort of like this natural ordinary magic that we have. And it's a little bit of this idea, at least the way that I've perceived the question, in kind of like the willingness to accept that like people are ready to see the light that you have. Like people are ready to see this person that you have and or this person that you are, and the willingness to sort of lean into that tension. I think that, there's a lot of this perception of the world that we have now where people see the lives of people through a screen on their phone or on their computer. And I think a lot of times we forget that like when somebody sees somebody else's life on Instagram or on Twitter or wherever else it may be, they're only showing you this very small bit of what they want you to see. And I think a lot of times we try to live up to that expectation or we try to be that. I look at ordinary superpowers, ordinary magic, as in just like bringing the best version of yourself to whatever it is that performance is. And I mean that like across everything. Like we talk to high performers all day. Like, yes, I want the best version of you as a baseball player to be out there, but like, I want the best version of you as a husband to be the person that goes home to your wife, or I want the best version of the dad to be the person that goes and picks their kid up even after a tough game. Like whatever that is, that's that ordinary magic and ordinary superpower that I think we all have in ourselves. And I think the biggest part is like recognizing the word ordinary. Like that's okay. It's okay to just be you, to be whatever that version is. You don't have to be what you see on social media or what you see other people put out. I think it's about being the real person that's there and that's there all the time for those around them, not for the quick hits of the likes on social media and so on. So I don't know. That's a little bit of the way I've thought about it. Justin, I know that you've talked a little bit about this. So like, I'd obviously love to like hear your perspective on it too. Cause I know that you've definitely viewed this in a certain way too, which is cool.
Yeah, when you say superpower, immediately you think of superheroes, right? You think of Superman and Wonder Woman, and you think of all of these great these superheroes, and we applaud them, we celebrate them, and they attack and they destroy villains and they protect the world. And to your point, Brian, like we put them on pedestals and see how great they are. But to your point with this question is, what if you're the superhero, and what are your superpowers? And I love the word ordinary too, because a lot of times they're not so overt. It's easy to look at like American Idol or athletes or business professionals and say, wow, they're so good at these things, because everyone could see it, someone who's really fit or whatever it may be. But what I love are those superpowers that are subtle. Your superpower of listening, the superpower of patience, the superpower of keeping things in perspective. And I think one way to find your superpower is an outside perspective. A lot of times you might have this skill or this virtue or this value that you don't even realize is a superpower, because it comes so easy to you. You've always done it. And so I think going out and asking people, who getting an outside perspective, hey, what is it about me that makes me unique, or what do you appreciate about me, what do you love about me? I think those are very powerful. It reminds me of, I read this story where there is this woman who is on, I think it's the New York Orchestra, and she was playing in the subway in New York a violin worth millions of dollars, and she's just playing the violin in there, and people were walking by. People they didn't notice how complex the song was. They didn't notice how good she was, and they didn't realize that there is an elite person right here. People would pay thousands of dollars to listen to her play, and they're just walking right by her. She's playing for free. But there was a few people who appreciated that music, who appreciated the instrument. They had an ear tuned to how good she was, and they noticed her ordinary superpower. But sometimes it takes surrounding around yourself with people who could point that out for you. And I think that's just a huge point with this ordinary superpower.
Oh, so well said. And it's so true. I love like what both you guys said, because I think that there's, I actually had a business coach give me this task, kind of what you said, Justin. They asked me, what makes you good at what you do? And that's a hard question to ask or to answer. I may have like a couple answers. Well, I'm good at this. I can explain things this way. But you're right. We tend to miss these little ordinary superpowers. And so my task was, I had to go to my mom, to Jake, a couple others, and ask them why they think I am a good mental performance coach. Like why they think what makes me good at my job. And they all said different things than what I said. They were like, you care so much. You put people first. And they said all these things that I'm like, that's not what came to mind when somebody said, what makes you good at what you do? And so I encourage anybody listening right now to ask themselves that question: what makes you good at what you do? Whatever that is. And then also don't be afraid to ask the people close to you that know you best, what makes you good? They may point out these ordinary superpowers that, like you guys said, that sometimes we can't see ourselves, and then we can lean into them. We can be more aware of them. And yeah, I don't know. I just find this to be so interesting, because you know where else I see this a lot is when people are starting out. They go, I could never do that. There's so many people already doing that on social media. Or,
do you remember doing that? All
so
of you guys,
saturated. You can't do
I remember
that.
it was like that.
But
yeah.
Yes. But so I heard something, and I don't even know who said it, and I still repeat it to myself, is that no one can do,
I think it was,
no one can
Justin.
do what you do like you do it. Did you say that, Justin?
It sounds like definitely something you would say. Definitely something you would say.
Because that sounds like you. As I'm saying, I'm like, wait a second, this sounds like Justin.
Well, it's so funny. I don't know. I
Is
don't.
that
I,
what,
and off the,
was that something that you said?
there are some people who will send me my tweets. I'm like, I don't even remember writing that.
Right. Well, you know what? We're
No
gonna
doubt.
coin you as
You're feeling. It reminds me of something I saw as well, where it says, if you want to make an impact in anything that you do, whether it be business or your team, whatever it is, it says you not only, there are things that, there's different levels. The first level is doing things that other people don't do. They can, but they just don't do it. Level two is doing other things people won't do. They just won't do it. And then the highest level is doing things that people can't do. And one of the things that people can't do is they can't be you. Like you said, Lauren, there's no one in the world who has a collection of experiences, skill set, values, passion, purpose, loved ones, DNA, chromosomes like you. And so instead of, like Brian said, trying to be like someone else, it's lean into the best version of yourself instead of trying to be a copycat of someone else. I think that's the true superpower, is you, the best version of you. To your point, I love it.
Do you ever? I mean, I sometimes feel like we just don't. We take the time to reflect on a lot of things, but not ourselves, because like we're so pulled and drawn into sort of like these other realms, whether it's like comparison or whether it's like trying to keep up with, insert whatever the Jones is, insert mental performance coach, insert other player or teammate or team or whatever. And I think like the idea of being able to like break down a day and just sort of like, audit your day and sort of how we perceive the day and how we interpret the day. And then just like remember that a day is just a day, right? It's like literally a measurement of time. That's it. That's what it is. And we have like a really cool opportunity each day to just sort of check in with ourselves of where it is. And again, I think it is a little bit of like, I mean, we talk about hunting the good stuff at the end of the show. It is a little bit about that too, about like finding out what happened that day and being like okay with it. And then just remembering that like a day is just a day. That's it. It's a measurement of time. And guess what? Tomorrow is going to be another day. And that's going to be just a day, a measurement of time. And then we get another one and another one. And I think the cool part is like we get, right? We get the opportunity. We get the chance. It's exciting. Like that's cool. We can change. We can make movement. Like we can do things. And man, do we just never give ourselves enough credit for that? And I think that's where you find kind of that ordinary magic. That's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, I like that point. Oh wow, there's a long list. There's so many things. I think so. The first place that I went is, and this is such a common thing. I think I go to Carol Dweck's growth mindset. Initially, naturally just kind of roll there. For those who are watching who are not familiar with it, just like the five kind of pillar principles: learn from failure, embrace obstacles, give your best no matter what, whether you feel like it or not. It's going to look different from day to day. Seek critical feedback and learning from the success of others instead of being threatened by it. That's always my first go-to. But then there's like both of you having the ability to have a front row seat to elite performers day in and day out. I think something they're really good at is embracing the boredom of consistency. I think they're really good at the really, when they're really good is being willing to say no, being willing to say things and not or ignore things that aren't the main thing for them. So I'm saying there's like 7 of them, but those are the things off the top of my head. I'll kick it to you guys, but those are just kind of, as I'm just listing them off, those are the first few that jump to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like certainly so much of the grit stuff, like growth mindset, like obviously, I think a huge part of it, and the cool part is, I think for all three of us, is how many times have we actually watched a player who got drafted? We watched them go through those initial struggles, right? We've watched them for 4 or 5 years in the minor leagues, and then we watch them get to the big leagues and be successful. Like that's what's so interesting. So everyone else, right? So we often see the final outcome, right, of the high performers, but a lot of people don't see the work in progress that they were for years, and that work in progress is the difference between, I think, elite and average. Like they continuously were a work in progress. They were continuously molding, honing that craft of theirs. And all of the things that Justin talked about, like that's what sort of goes into that process, right? Like those daily habits, the mundane tasks, like all of those things, when you break down what they are, that equates the process. And for them, like they're very comfortable leaning into that process, recognizing that that process is actually over results, right? Because if you're doing that process correctly, you're leaning into that process, you're engaging in those daily habits, those micro actions and behaviors. If you're doing all those things the right way, you have a really good chance of being successful, of achieving the results you want. But again, like people see the final results on TV, but that work in progress mindset is, probably like one of the most impactful things that I think we've all been lucky enough to see, and then see how it plays out in sort of that final
So
end right there when they get their
my
opportunity.
biggest pet
That's been a
peeve
cool part, I think,
is
in our
when
world to be able to
people
see.
tell me, "Oh, well, must be nice signing a, couple $1 million contract." And every time I say this to them is that you got to see the signing of that contract, just like you said, Brian. What you didn't see was the 6-7 years of earning nothing and sacrificing, living in an apartment with 6 roommates, like eating peanut butter jelly and sandwiches 3 times a day and trying to get by as best as you can, all the while dealing with all the stuff that you deal with as you're learning, developing, and growing as a minor league player. And so for me, like that is, you just hit such an important piece that like not everybody sees that. But back to my point. Sorry for that quick detour. Is the first thing I thought of was between or average
Right.
and elite athletes. My first question was, what's similar? And the similarities are they all go through failures. They all go through obstacles. They all go through the discomfort of having to look themselves in the mirror. They all have, critics. They all, have room for growth. But I think the difference is that, like you said at the beginning, Justin, and you, Brian, is that they don't look at those. Their failure isn't final. Their obstacles don't stop them. They'll find another way. The discomfort is something that they lean into, even if initially they don't. They find a way to lean into it because they know that there's growth on the other side. And so I think that the difference a lot of times is not that they don't deal with difficult circumstances or they have this talent that just makes them immune. No one's immune from that stuff. It's the way that they decide to respond to it that makes them different. And I think that's where, a lot of what we teach come in. But I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
No, that is such a great point. I love how you articulated the similarities, and a lot of them, they both have the same goals. Like everyone who, like when you enter a season for a sport, everyone wants to win the championship, the World Series. Everyone wants to be Forbes 100, whatever. But yeah, it's those practical daily habits every day in and day out that really separates the best from the rest. And I love the word that you said, Brian. Is that embracing the process. I think in order to work the process and trust the process, you have to have a process. If you ask a performer, what's your process? They're going to be able to tell you. They have one. They've one through experience, and they know that it's changed over time. Where you ask an average person, hey, what's your process? A lot of times they're like, I don't know. Or they don't have a process for certain things that are very important, from how to deal with adversity, or their morning process, or their at the end of the game process, or off season process. I think there's something to that, Brian, that you said.
I think too, the willingness to change it, Justin, that's the thing. Like the best, right? The best recognize that they can't do the same thing every year, even after they've been successful. Do you know how gnarly and scary it must be for like the highest performers to be like, I'm going to learn something new? Like legitimately to like, think about like the best performers when they're just like, they revamp their swing, or they revamp a pitch, or they try something new, or they try something different. It's like, Think about that process of learning something new. How scary that is. That like getting good at a new skill will require failure. Scary. Like that there's tension to working on the edge of our capacity and that like things will be uncomfortable. Scary. That you'll feel momentarily incompetent. Very scary. Right? And that it's going to look ugly before it looks awesome. Very scary on a national stage. Like that is why those people are elite, because they're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna be like a little incompetent. Roger that. Like it's new. Like this is like if it were easy, everyone would do it. Like they are the people who can lean into that tension and be like, yeah, I'm gonna make an adjustment. I'm going to continue to evolve as the game or as the performance or whatever it else evolves to. Like that takes major guts, man. And I think that's why some of the best people that we've been like, man, this person's been good for a long
So
time.
freaking true.
Yeah, they
So
don't just
true.
keep doing the same
And
thing. They're
don't
totally
you also
fine
think
with upping
that,
the game.
for
And
somebody
part
to
of upping
be
their
that
game
way,
is
like
upping
you're
their
describing,
process.
Brian, it takes it takes an extreme level of self-awareness. And you have to be, it's almost like they're present to it, right? It's like the better you get, the more you can in the moment remind yourself that, oh, I'm just in the growth zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is uncomfortable. There's fear present. This is a big moment. I'm feeling pressure. Like, oh, I'm just in the growth zone. They can recognize in the moment and be present to it when it's happening. And I think that takes a lot of knowing yourself, which also takes a lot of self-reflection. And kind of like what you were saying, Justin, with having to have that process is, what is your process of self-reflection? If you ask an elite performer how they evaluate performance, oh my gosh, like I can't tell you how many of our guys, like at least at the Yankees when I was there, they have journals. Like they journal before every game, after every game. They're taking every meticulous note. They have every detail ready to go. And we actually had a player. He was in AA and he went up to AAA. And when he came, and he knew he was only going up there to pitch a game, and he was coming back down. And he came down, and I asked him, I said, what did you learn from that? Like, was there anything that you gained from being up there? And he goes, oh my gosh, the level of attention to detail is out of this world. And he goes, I sat down with some of our other pitchers who have now made it to the major leagues at the Yankees. And he goes, and I've just never seen so much detail in terms of like preparing for a lineup and all of these things. So I do just think that there's such a level to detail, but also there's a process behind how they do that.
Yeah, and I like that too. Sorry, I lost my voice actually. I was just trying to. Oh, another thing too is just this humility, accounting for your blind spots. That's one of my favorite questions, to walk up to leaders and walk up to coaches and ask, how do you account for your blind spots? You've been doing this for a long time. You have a lot of knowledge, and it's a question that the initial answer is I don't know, but I know I have them, and I don't think they've really articulated, but they go and they ask, and that's why they study, and that's why they look. And knowing that what I love about the elite, whether it be a coach, a leader, an athlete, a business professional, is they don't believe they know it all. It's this constant sense of both chasing progress and being chased at the same time. It's feeling like, oh, I'm chasing greatness and being chased, like this almost panic, like looking behind, like, oh man, I don't want to succumb to like my old version of myself. I want to get better. And so it is uncomfortable. It's a lot of these elite performers are unrelatable. They're unrelatable. A lot of them have tight circles, family members, friends. They don't understand. They're like, wait a minute, you're going to bed. Why so early? Why are you eating like that? Just take the day off. Just don't think that, but they care so much. They cry when things struggle. They question their worth, even as a person sometimes, where you can have the shadow side of an elite performer. That could be another topic. But they're just so relentless, and and that's all part of it as well. People think elite athletes are just these stoic or performers. They're robots. No, they're crawling, they're clawing, they're scratching, they're crying, they're emotional. They're questioning themselves. It's a tough road. It's a tough road. It's not for the faint of.
Oh, no, not at all. And Lauren, I know we're coming up on time here, but like, I can't help but think, Justin, like they're outliers, man. They are odd, different, unique from the norm, right? Like they do everything differently from the norm. The way that they sleep, the way that they eat, the way that they train, the way that they spend time with their families, and the way that they think. They are like the true definition of what an outlier is. And it's like that we need to embrace the outlier mindset. We need to embrace being an outlier, because in school we're taught that outliers are bad, right? And what you just said too, Justin, sorry, but like in a standard bell curve, right? Like the average, the norm is constantly trying to pull back, right? They want you to be average and be normal. That is the group, right? When you're running, we all experience this. When you're running sprints and you're going all out, that is the guy next to you that's like, yo, why are you trying so hard? You're making us all look bad. That is the average trying to pull you back right there. And whatever that version is. Yeah, whatever that version is for you in your life.
The elite
exactly. Elite doesn't listen. It doesn't. Yep.
Oh, so good. We could talk about this for hours, you guys, and we didn't even get to our last question, but I think I'm glad we didn't, because this was so good. You guys had so many good things to say, so I'm glad that we just took our time with these two questions. Now, as you guys know, we end every episode with gratitude, because hunting the good stuff is really important to all three of us. And so, Justin, I'm going to throw it over to you. Tell me some of the good stuff. What you got?
Some of the good stuff. My daughter is an actor, and she just she's getting ready to head over to Denmark to go shoot a movie, and she's the star of the movie. And so she's taken a lot of L's, a lot of failures, but she's about to go back on set, so she's pumped. That's good stuff.
That is good stuff. Let's go. That's awesome.
Wow. The thing about Hunt the Good Stuff, guys, is you should never compare your good stuff to somebody else's good stuff. Now. Yeah. That is some big good stuff, Justin. Holy cow.
Brian,
awesome.
What you got?
Congrats. That's so cool. Hey, I'm 10 days out from seeing my family. That's a huge thing for me. So it's been 41 days away from my girls, from my wife and daughter, and I'm 10 days out from getting home and getting a chance to see them. So FaceTime is incredible, but there's nothing like a little hug from a 2-year-old. So I'm ready to get home. Super excited, but I'm very excited about that.
Well, first
what
of all,
about
I'm
you,
excited
Laura?
for you. I'm counting down for you. That's sure.
Thank you.
For me, something actually that I've been really focused on this past week is reorganizing my schedule, because one of the things I learned about myself, talk about having to reflect, is that I definitely say yes a lot. And everyone's like, well, you just have to say no. And I said, well, the thing that got me, it wasn't about who I was saying yes to. It was about who I was saying no to. It meant I was saying no to Jake. I was saying no to my family. I was saying no to things that really mattered to me. And so something I'm really grateful for is reorganizing my schedule, because this past week I've spent the most time with Jake and spent time just as a family. Like, even, I know it sounds funny with my dog. Like, we've ended almost every night at the lake at sunset, just enjoying time together. So that's something I'm really grateful for.
That's awesome.
Oh, thanks, guys. Well, thank you guys again for an amazing show. Now, next week, we've got some great questions. So I'm gonna tease them out for you guys. First one, how can failure be a benefit? Second one, how do I improve my relationship with difficult? And third one, how do I strive for purpose when I feel like I'm going through the motions? So make sure you stay tuned for next week for another episode of The Mindset Show.